The 49ers preseason is just about officially over, and they may, and I stress may, have dodged a serious, serious bullet. We'll break everything down. It's the Instant Reaction Show on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Instant Reaction Show on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. This is Levin Black. Levin, oh man, there were a couple of scary moments, but hopefully, the 49ers have escaped major injury to both Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos, although Gross-Matos we really haven't seen since he went down, so we'll find out during this show.
Yeah, the Gross-Matos is probably something a little more serious just because he never came back. And if you never came back, that means you're probably getting an MRI done. Is usually when you don't come back out, it means they're sending you in to see what's going on. But we did see Floyd back, and from what was being tweeted by the reporters that were there, seemed to be moving around fine and was kind of smiling and happy. So that's the one that the Niners really need.
Yes. Although Leonard Floyd, I mean, first of all, he hasn't missed a game since like 2017. And we're like, now he's going to get hurt in the preseason. So that was very scary. And they got hurt on the same drive, basically a few plays apart. So we'll have to wait and see. But that is the biggest thing that's going to come out of this game are injuries. And those are the only two that we know of right now to keep an eye on. Obviously, we'll listen to Kyle Shanahan and wait in the next 2 days after the game because sometimes stuff pops up. As every Viking fan knows, poor J.J. McCarthy all of a sudden just popped up. Not only was he hurt, he was lost for the season.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway will actually be Deebo does not need to return any kicks.
Let me just say, when I did the show with Michelle earlier today, one of the 5 things I said I wanted to see was Isaac Guerendo because we didn't get to see him. He got hurt on the first preseason or the first training camp practice. So we never really got to see him. And I was excited. I was fired up. And he came in, bing, bang, boom, 92-yard kickoff return. And I don't know if he's 100% from that hamstring or not, but man, he can move.
He also looked good as a running back. I wouldn't say he looked phenomenal, but he looked good for his first action as a rookie. And you know what's really intriguing to me about him, and I didn't learn this until that not too long ago, just a couple of weeks ago. I did not know this at draft time. He was Indiana Mr. Football as a wide receiver.
Wow. Well, he's got the athletic ability, man.
So, yeah, like to be a state's Mr. Football as a wide receiver, but then be a running back, that intrigues me for the potential that's there because maybe he could be a true dual threat running back.
I mean, I don't even care, honestly. Like, if all he did was kick returns, I would be satisfied because we haven't had that with the 49ers in a long, long time, since Ted Ginn, basically. And how long ago was that? Just in case people forgotten why I'm so high on him, let me share this with you. This is the athletic profile for Isaac Guerendo. And look, I know it's an athletic profile. It doesn't tell you everything, but the man is a freakish athlete. And if you can put him on kick returns and get really good, solid, consistent returns and not have to put Deebo back there, I'd be all for it. So look, it's only one game, obviously, but just another guy in this rookie class, 11, that you can get excited about to this point in the season.
Yeah, pretty much everybody but the first round pick you can be excited about in this rookie class. The 49ers seem to have really had a home run of a draft to this point. Now, obviously, extremely early prognosis, a lot can change. I mean, Dante Pettis as a rookie, everybody was going crazy about, and what ended up happening there. So, yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But these rookies look to have multiple difference makers.
How about Antonio Pierce calling timeouts at the end of this game? Kyle Shanahan's got to be going out of his mind. I know it's a 3-point game, but dude, Antonio, what are you doing? Kyle's probably losing his mind. Werlock says, thank you for the super chat. This 49ers team is not winning the Super Bowl. Purdy looks like a rookie. Deer in the headlights. Only one laughing is Brandon. This team really needs him. I mean, I have some issues with what Brock Purdy did in the game, but it's not anything to do with his actual performance. It's him choosing to be reckless with his body. His actual performance, I thought, was fine. I thought he looked calm, comfortable. 9 of 12, 96 yards. He did have the interception that popped off of Deebo's hands. But I didn't think that his performance was bad at all.
I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great either. It looked to me like a little rusty, but it's preseason. If you're reading a lot into quarterback play from preseason, you've gone the wrong way. You need to turn around because you're going down the wrong road. Quarterback play in the preseason does not mean a whole heck of a lot. You can see potential of quarterbacks is the way I would put it. Like, especially with rookies, you can see, okay, they got through the progressions. Oh, there was some athleticism there. Oh, they had good pocket presence. But you can't make a determination on a quarterback from preseason at all.
And people were freaking out like on the first possession. Oh, it's the Raiders backups and it's the 49ers starters. Like, calm down. They had 3 possessions. They scored on 2 of them, and they were closing in on scoring on the 3rd before the interception. Like, what? Calm down. Like, relax. My God. The thing that was upsetting me was that Brock Purdy continuing to take hits, continuing to get thrown down on his throwing shoulder, and then 11 after the interception. Brock is chasing down the play and throws his head and shoulder into the guy returning the interception. Brock, what are you doing? What are you doing? You don't need to do that. It's preseason week 3. You don't need to do that. Just get out of the way. Some Raiders defender is looking to smash you on this play. Just stop.
It's definitely in his DNA. He can't. He's one of those, you got to protect himself from himself in the preseason. But on that interception, Colton McKivitz, my God.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people that were saying in training camp, oh, he's really showed strides and he's going to be even better this year. On that rep, did not look like it. It's literally a second string Raiders defensive lineman runs right by him. Look, like watch Colton McKivitz there on the bottom of the offensive line. Just gets run right by. It's like the guy didn't even do anything. He literally just sprinted past him.
And that's what rushes the throw, and Brock throws it before he wants to, and it ends up getting tipped, interception. And look, quarterback got to be able to thrive on that, in spite of non-perfect circumstances. But you want your starting right tackle against the backup to at least get a fingertip on the guy. Niners offensive line, when Brock was in there 11, he dropped back 14 times. He was under pressure on 9 of them.
Yeah, it's a very, very troublesome pass protection, because even with Trent Williams, yes, that will lift things. Aaron Banks will lift things. That will take care of the left side. But what we saw was the right side, and Colton McKivitz was getting beat consistently in this game. And you saw, once again, Brendel getting beat, and he is not a good pass protector. He struggled in that last year. He's a better run blocker than pass blocker. It's troublesome to me. Like, it's to the point from what we've seen, and I saw some reports in training camp that Brendel didn't look good. I wouldn't be shocked if there is a change at center at some point. I'm not saying it'll definitely happen, but if he keeps playing like the reports have been and what we've seen in preseason, I don't see how that's sustainable.
Not ideal, for sure. And it's like Spencer Burford. It's like, yeah, he's the starter, but he's the starter because it's the best that they have. And hopefully one of these young guys can rise up and take that spot. Speaker, YouTube channel member for 8 months. Thank you very much. Speaker says, Brayden Willis is out. Latu is in. Brock Purdy is fine. Go Niners. Latu had a couple of plays in the game. Brayden Willis had some terrible blocking in the game. Terrible block. Like, they're trying to use him as a fullback. It's not really going to work out for him, I don't think. And the Niners' search for backup tight ends continues.
I did see Latu had a rep too, where he was in kind of like the fullback spot, and he completely just missed on who he should have blocked. And a guy came unblocked, blew up the play for a 5-yard loss, and he stood there blocking nobody. It's like the guy ran directly to your right, and you didn't recognize that's where the blitz was coming from. So I wouldn't say it was a banner game from Latu, but in comparison, yeah, if they got to pick between those two, it seems a pretty easy choice.
Tavarius says, trade Elijah. Have you seen
To
enough?
Who is trading for him?
Dallas, maybe. They need a running back.
Nobody's trading for him.
But have you seen enough from JP Mason, who continues to look amazing every time he gets in there? Have you seen enough from Garendo and JP Mason to say that Elijah Mitchell's career is done? Because I got to tell you, when Mason ran it in, I got a text from like 5 different people that said, I think we've just seen the end of Elijah Mitchell's career with the 49ers.
You know, it's funny because I thought about that when Mason was doing well. And I thought, well, if he's going to be your 4th string behind those 3 with Christian McCaffrey as well, then that's fine because he's never going to get the field, so he can't get hurt. And then I immediately had the thought, wait, he gets hurt from practice all the time. So he's still going to get hurt because it's practice that he gets hurt in all the time. So, yeah, I don't know that there's a 4th running back on the team that has stood out enough that you end up moving on from Eli Mitchell. I could see him still making the team because I wasn't impressed overly with any of the other running backs. Schrader doesn't look like much of anything. So I think he probably still makes this team.
Yeah, he'll probably still be there. Plus, we know Kyle loves vets, too. I don't know how many young guys he wants to go with. Raiders are driving. They are in field goal range at the end of regulation, and they just spiked the ball to stop the clock with about 21 seconds left. Man, if Antonio Pierce, there's no overtime in the preseason, right?
I don't think so. I think they just have ties.
I was going to say, because if he kicks the field goal and sends it to overtime, I think Kyle Shanahan will literally run across the field and strangle him with the wire of the coaching headset. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just a tie, as it should be. We don't need friggin' overtime. But we touched on it, but we should. I mean, Jordan Mason is fantastic. 8 carries, 42 yards, had a touchdown. I've never seen him get hit and go backwards. I feel like he's always falling forward with the ball. He always comes in with a ton of juice. He plays like his hair's on fire all the time, and I love it. And I love to see him now he's getting the run that we have all wanted to see him get for the past couple of years.
Yeah, hopefully they do it in the regular season.
Right.
Conserve Christian McCaffrey. You know, I tweeted it out early on in the game. Jordan Mason, if he was the bell cow in this offense, meaning he gets 300 carries, he would have a 1,500-yard season. Because he is somebody that in this offense, he's a really good running back, and in this offense, he's going to average 5 yards a carry. He would have a 1,500-yard season. I think he is a 1,000-plus yard season running back, and I think he's somebody that is better than probably 10 starters, maybe even 15 starters in the league.
There's certainly a place for him in the league. There's certainly a place for him on this team. And it was nice to see. I'm rooting for him, right? Like an undrafted free agent guy that, you kind of see yourself in, an everyman. And every time he's gotten the ball, he looks good. He runs for over 5 yards a carry. Warlock is back. Thank you again for the super chat. I wish you guys were more impartial with the players. We have enough cheerleaders with content creators. We need more neutral content creators. Man, I can't win for losing. First, I'm too negative. Now I'm a cheerleader. It is amazing.
Warlock, you've been around. Like, he's not new to the channel. He's been around. This isn't the first time we've interacted with him. Like, do you not listen during the shows? We've called out plenty of players here. We're heavily critical. I would say we probably lean towards the half that is more critical than average. So I don't know what he's talking about there. Like, we both try to be objective, but being objective when covering a singular team means you criticize more than the average content creator, because most content creators are, as he said, cheerleaders.
Breaking news, Levin. The Raiders kicked the field goal and tied the game. 43 yards. Daniel Carlson makes it. It's tied at 24. Did you think I was going to like a Brandon Aiyuk or Trent Williams update there?
No, actually, I was like, wait, is that something coming from my phone, my computer? Where's that coming from?
I just freaked you out.
Yeah, I'm sure if you go back and rewatch this show, my eyes probably get pretty big because I literally thought, like, where is that coming from? I was thinking, like, I don't have another tab open. Sometimes like you leave a tab open and it's on something like a box score. And then randomly 5 minutes later, they decide, hey, we're going to have this ad pop up and start playing sound on you.
Oh, struggle bus. Anyway, what else stood out to you, Levin? We talked about Brock Purdy. We talked about Jordan Mason. In the first half, 2 wide receivers caught passes, Deebo Samuel and Chris Conley, and that was it.
Really?
Brandon Aiyuk had to be watching this game, and he was there because they brought everybody. I know people were trying to make a big deal out of the fact that he was there. Everybody went that wasn't, injured. But, I mean, they miss him. They need him, clearly. It's not the same offense without him.
I would say one of my biggest takeaways is Cowing is a better route runner than Deebo. I know. We don't really know that for true, but Deebo is not a good route runner. That is the big weakness to his game. That is why he's not a future Hall of Famer. If Deebo was a really good route runner, he would be absolutely destroying the league and be the best wide receiver in the league. That's what he's not good at. And you saw that on that interception. That was a third string corner that mossed him on that interception. Literally jumped over him to tip it. Like, Deebo didn't get any separation. That DB, if you watch the rep, I saw one angle that was a little more zoomed out, and you could see the whole rep. The DB ran the route better than Deebo. He didn't fall for Deebo's feint to go to the outside.
I'll address that in a minute, but I want to hit up Sign Me 29 on Twitch, who says, you can't be objective with all that memorabilia behind you. Why? Because I have a shirt hanging up in the background. I can't be objective about the team. Why? I don't understand why people think that it's impossible for you to be objective about a team just because you would like to see that team win. Like,
I spent a decade of my life getting rid of my biases, like learning to ignore my biases. And if anything, when I feel a bias having an effect, I try to attack it and go the other way. That's what going through journalism school is. You literally learn. And a lot of your beat reporters out there will tell you they aren't fans of the game anymore. Like, you lose your fanhood covering when you're there, covering it day in, day out. Like, you lose that. That's something I have struggled with. I am not as rah as I used to be. I used to yell during games to a degree. I used to have it truly affect me when they lost, and it would stick with me. And spending a decade of my life being a journalist, sports, I still care greatly, but they don't affect me in that same way. Like, they will not ruin my mood for an entire week, except for when they lose a Super Bowl in overtime.
I never found it particularly difficult, to be honest with you. Like, you can root for the team. You can talk about the team. As long as you're honest about what goes on, it's not difficult. Speaker says, I thought maybe Brandon Aiyuk staying in Las Vegas. Devontae Adams comes home with us. I know that people saw BA talking with Antonio Pierce before the game, and we were like, what's happening there? Also, is this potential tampering? I would do that trade in a second, by the way, if it were to happen. Joseph Faccio, YouTube channel member, says, listening to you guys and 49ers report, Puni was fire. And there was one other comment from Flynn West. If Puni was a first-round pick, we would all be stoked for his play. Absolute steal in the third round. It's at the point now where I don't notice Dominick Puni, which is the best compliment you can give an offensive lineman. Like, he's just freaking rock solid, man. Definition of plug-and-play starter.
Yeah, they finally... Who knew? We criticized them all offseason. You didn't address the offensive line. Apparently they did.
They nailed it, man.
They nailed that. Tackle is still a concern on the right side, and center is still a concern of mine. But just with Puni, it seems like they will be improved. And what I've really liked the most about what Puni we've seen in the preseason is how aware he is. And when he doesn't have anybody to block, he goes and finds somebody to block and help. Because to me, that means he's going to be able to help McKivitz at times. Because he's going to be smart enough to recognize that, hey, he needs help. His guy is getting by him. I'm going to put my hand out and try to slow him down.
Just like Trent Williams helps Aaron Banks a lot of the time. Nick Ellert, YouTube channel member, says, thanks for being fair always. Best in the biz. We appreciate that. We appreciate all our YouTube channel members on the show. If you want to become one, it's less than $3 a month. It means the world to me to have your support. You get custom emojis, membership badges, and priority comment response. So if you can, please and thank you. Junior GZ says, no shoes in the hut stats. I do have shoes on right now as we speak, of course. Speaking, I don't think Kyle Shanahan has got to the podium just yet. I will be waiting with bated breath on updates on both Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos. I want to hear that they are both okay, that they are, banged up, but nothing serious. They'll be back. Don't forget the Niners have a lot of time off between now and their first game. The preseason.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Preseason is officially over. They don't play the Jets till September 9th. So that's a lot of time. So hopefully everybody, if they are banged up, if they are nicked up, can rest up and be close to full strength for week 1.
It is 2 weeks from Monday. Like we were more than 2 weeks away. Ugh. I was doing that math in my head prior to this game. I was like, wait, is this still more than 2 weeks, not 10 days? Oh, no.
Well, and I think that was part of the reason why Kyle played the guys so long, because they had such a long layoff before they have to play the Jets in week 1. I'm sorry. I see this comment from Perfect Blackness Senior who says, God, please cut Trent Taylor now. I don't think Trent is he's not making the ride. He'll be on the practice squad.
What are you talking about? He had a reception.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ronnie Bell even had some good returns tonight.
He had good returns. Wide receiver didn't look that great.
Good Lord, Levin. Did you see what happened on the final play of the game?
I'm seeing it down there in the preview of what you're watching.
I'm seeing it now. The Niners almost scored on one of those crazy laterals. Tanner Mordecai is dropping back. He's rolling to his right. He chucks the ball. Hell of a throw down the field. Gets tipped up a bunch of times. And who catches it? Trent Taylor. And he laterals the ball. It's flopping all over the field. Linemen are touching it. Ronnie Bell picks it up. He's scrambling around. He flips it back to Cody Schrader, who flips it back. It's fumbled again. Mordecai's got it again. He's rolling around. He flips it across the field to Cody Schrader. He's making guys miss. He flips it back to a lineman who's down to the 10-yard line, to the 5, gets down to like the 4-yard line. There was a flag, but damn, for the final play of the preseason, not bad. How'd you like my play-by-play work on that?
I was going to call you Baby Buck.
It's a lot of new numbers in there, too. I was figuring it out on the fly.
Yeah. There was a forward pass, though, there.
Yeah, there was, but still fun.
When Mordecai got it the second time, it was a good, 5 yards forward. But I wonder who that counts as a lost. Well, I guess they didn't lose the fumble. I was going to say, did Trent Taylor get a lost fumble on that play? But
I have no idea. My first dream job that I ever wanted to do was play-by-play. I thought in high school, I thought I was going to be a play-by-play guy.
That's what I did that in college quite a bit.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, that would have been my number one dream job.
100%. I just think it's such an awesome, such a cool thing. It would be the most fun job. I don't know if I have the pipes for it, to be honest with you, but didn't work out. But still got to do some cool stuff. I want to get to this comment. Sean Can 5678 says, Sam Womack has to go. Levin, there was a play tonight with Samuel Womack where the Raiders drop back, they throw a deep ball, and he just stops. And the receiver comes back and catches the ball. And then once he catches the ball, Womack freezes and the guy goes by him for a touchdown. He can't make plays on the football at all.
He literally was in the spot that ball was thrown to. And the wide receiver came back, knocked him out of the way, caught the ball, and Womack stood there and watched him as he ran the last 7-8 yards into the end zone. Horrendous. Okay, you had great coverage, and you're literally in position to intercept the ball, and you not only allow yourself to get bodied, but you don't even reach out to make sure the guy can't score. You just completely quit. I don't see any way that he makes this team. The cornerback depth is insane.
Especially with what we've seen from the secondary out of this draft class too. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see it. I think he's going to be gone. Obviously, Amber Thomas is going to be out for a while because of the broken arm. Even Darrell Luter started to look a little better. He made a couple plays, had a pick in the end zone. I don't see it for Sam Womack. How many more years are we going to be well, they're still waiting on him to, if you haven't shown it by now, you're not going to show it. Let's get to a couple more super chats here. 808 Niner. YouTube channel member, says, why do we set first round picks on fire? That is another thing, Levin. I'm going to take credit for this because I feel like nobody mentioned it before I tweeted it this morning. I put it in 49ers in 5, the daily update that we do, the 5-minute update, which is why you want to like and subscribe. You get all the information in that. Mike Silver was on KMBR and said that the 49ers knew Ricky Pearsall had a shoulder issue before they drafted him. They took him anyway, and they hoped it wasn't going to become a thing. They have not been asked about this publicly. I hope that Kyle gets asked about it tonight because I tweeted it out. It picked up steam. I saw a lot of people retweeting it. Hell, Silver quote tweeted it himself. Pro Football Talk ran an article about it. I hope that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch get asked about that tonight because they should be.
Yeah. It's because if you let's rewind back to the draft when Pearsall was taken, everybody goes, "Oh, that's interesting. They probably could have gotten him in the second round." Now, if this injury was a known thing and he was already considered a top of round 2 at the highest, like that was the projection at the highest. He'll go top of round 2, probably somewhere in the middle of round 2. But this injury, if it was known by teams, probably could have maybe lasted to the end of round 2 to third round. Because there's some teams that absolutely will not take injury risks early in the draft at all. So, it's even bigger of a reach.
That's what I said to Michelle. I was like, if everybody else knew this, then you probably could have waited on him. Like, what about him made him so good that you wanted to grab him right then, despite all of that? So I definitely want to see them asked about it. And did you see what John Lynch said? And this scared me. He said, we're even higher on Ricky Pearsall now than when we drafted him, which is exactly what he said about Trey Lance. Yeah. Like, exactly. So,
speaking of Trey Lance, that was going to be my take about setting first-round picks on fire. Even when they trade them, they set them on fire because they didn't do anything with them.
Edgar L., YouTube channel member, says, now Garendo showed up. Good draft. Certainly looks like a good draft. I mean, look, obviously it's early, it's preseason, but Renardo Green has shown you some things to be excited about, although he had a rough drive at the end of the first half. Dominick Puni looks like a stud. Malik Mustafa has flashed a little. He's also missed a lot of tackles. He's like 50-50 on tackles.
He looks very raw. You can see the potential there to be like an impact starter, but he's very raw. He doesn't take the best of angles. He doesn't have the fastest of recognition. He needs time.
And he's a 4th-round pick. So, like, that's not a knock on him. But you can see that there might be something there, maybe. Isaac Garendo flashed tonight. Obviously, it's very early with him, but we like the speed-size combination. And as soon as he got a touch in a game, he returned to kick 92 yards. Jacob Cowing, we talked about, looks like he might really be able to contribute in a significant way in year 1 as a wide receiver in a very difficult offense. Jared Kingston was a 6th-round pick. He's, playing at the ends of these games, but he has looked okay. PFF has been pretty kind to him. Tatum Bethune, probably say I haven't really seen too much from him. Seen a lot of like body tackles where he doesn't wrap up and he tries to just truck somebody basically. Haven't loved that. But from your draft class as a whole, that's a lot of good.
Yeah. Like I said, early returns on this draft class are really, really good, which I do find intriguing. This was a little bit of a topic of conversation with the whole Ricky Pearsall thing this morning, but to have this good of a draft class after losing Adam Peters, which it was widely believed for the last few years that Peters kind of ran the draft. He was the main scout. He was the one that kind of did all of the pre-draft main work. And then during the draft, it was kind of, Lynch and Shanahan and everybody kind of weighing in on who to actually draft. But in terms of like setting up the draft board and all of that, it was believed to be him. And in recent years, the drafts have been pretty bad. And now the first one without him is looking pretty darn good. So it's kind of a little interesting there. Maybe Peters wasn't what we thought.
He was hired January 15th was the official announcement from the Commanders. So, I'm sure he had quite a bit to do with like what you were saying, some of the scouting, some of the big board stuff, but it's one thing to be able to do that. It's another thing to be able to actually play and manipulate the draft and get guys at certain spots. I don't know. Vish has never been as high on Adam Peters as other people, as the general consensus. My whole thing was like, we don't really know how much credit or blame to give him for anything, really. We know a couple of the Shanahan picks that didn't work out. Joe Williams, looking at you. So we can't blame Adam Peters for that. But so far, so good. Again, very, very early returns. Warlock says, did Grant answer your text about asking Kyle about the Ricky Pearsall pre-existing injury and drafting another injury-prone player? No, but to be fair, I didn't actually text Grant, so he's off the hook on that one. That's on me. I actually forgot to do that. But I do feel like the story picked up enough steam throughout the week that somebody's going to ask, please. Mike Silver has to ask. If nobody else, it's got to be Mike Silver. He went on the radio and said this. If he didn't say it, nobody would have even known.
Yeah, which makes you wonder, did other beat reporters know and sat on it to do the team a favor? Because obviously it's not a good story for the 49ers. Oh, hey, you reached on this player in the first round and you knew he had an injury and you were just hoping it wouldn't linger. Like, who knew?
Hope is not a strategy. I've said it 1,000 times. 8089, our YouTube channel member, says, I'm telling myself Jacob Cowing was our first round pick. And there are some people that will be like, oh, it doesn't matter if Pearsall, if they missed on Pearsall, if he's hurt all year because Jacob Cowing is here. And it's like, no, it still matters because you could have taken somebody else, right? You could have had a tackle or another offensive lineman or another edge, which they may need, especially after tonight, depending on how the injuries shake out. So you can't just say, well, if you draft two of the same position and one ends up being good, it doesn't matter that the other one stinks because there's opportunity cost there.
Yeah, that is true. In terms of if they end up needing another pass rusher, Justin Houston is still out there. Just saying. 3 years after I first brought him up, they might actually sign him.
SF 49ers guy says, personally saw my Giants lose to your Mariners. Ooh, that's a rough one. Giants had a 5-run lead in that one. Mariners came back to win in extra innings after firing their manager yesterday because, let me just tell you, being a Mariners fan is a freaking festival. God, it's brutal.
Yeah, they should be much better than they are.
They're terrible. They're always terrible. They're always going to be terrible. Never, ever, ever underestimate the Mariners' ability to lose. Okay, we do have... I like that button, Levin. I'm not going to lie. That's my new toy. We do have a bit of an injury update from Matt Mayoko, who says, quote, Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos sustained knee sprains, not ACL, Kyle Shanahan said. Both are scheduled for MRIs. Okay, that's good that it's not ACL. I wouldn't say we're out of the woods yet. Let's see those MRIs before we exhale, so to speak. But that is at least good. Usually if it's an ACL, they know it right away. So the fact that they're saying it's not ACLs, that's at least not the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Floyd being scheduled for an MRI, look, sometimes things do pop up and it's unexpected because the player's not feeling that bad. But I feel like if they were concerned that this was like a multiple week injury, he wouldn't have been back on the sideline like that. You know what I mean? You would have seen him wrapped up, if anything else, just sitting on the bench, not walking around on a knee that they thought was something serious.
True.
Gross-Matos is a little different.
Yeah,
you can have a knee sprain and it's like a 4-week injury. You could have a knee sprain and it's a 1-week injury.
Like you pointed out, what do they have? 14 days or what is it?
17 days.
17 days. So that's almost 3 full weeks before they have to play a game. So, if you see, oh, this guy's going to be out for 2 weeks, it stinks, but you can manage it. You can work with it. So
it'll be interesting to see because you have roster cutdowns in 2 days. So let's say Gross-Matos is a knee sprain where they think he's 4 to 6 weeks. They put him on PUP list, guaranteeing that he misses the first 4 weeks, but gives that roster spot to somebody.
I think the roster cut down is Tuesday.
Okay, so
the final day.
3-4 days from now. It's midday Tuesday, so it's like 3.5 days. It is Saturday, by the way, not Friday anymore.
I just want to point out whenever you make any mistake whatsoever. So I'm going to continue to do it. Make myself look smart and make you look less.
You should create a button for that.
Nevin, incorrect about cutdown day. I'm trying to see some other updates. If anybody else sees anything interesting about Kyle Shanahan in the chat or you're watching the press conference, we can't stream it. I would love to stream it and react live with you. We cannot do that. We're not allowed to do it. Otherwise, we would.
How about we talk about the quarterbacks? Because to me, Josh Dobbs is clearly the number 2. You saw the difference in this game. With a bad offensive line, Josh Dobbs can still make things happen. With a bad offensive line, Brandon Allen is lost.
That's the truth, really. And like, I don't know what name a splash play from Brandon Allen that you've seen this preseason. Now, I know
When he has a clean pocket, he does make really good throws. I think he is pretty accurate and he has a good pace on the ball and he can throw. The problem is if it's not a clean pocket, he's screwed. He's not somebody that's good at when he's got to improvise.
I can point to multiple plays from Josh Dobbs this preseason where he made something happen. He did something good. He popped in one way or another. Brandon Allen just didn't really do it for me, to be honest with you. Like he made some nice on schedule plays, but especially if something happens in the middle of the game, I trust Josh Dobbs to come in and give you a shot. He should be QB2. Do I think the 49ers will do it? No, I don't. I think Brandon Allen's going to be quarterback too, which is going to be annoying if Brock gets hurt because Brandon Allen's going to come in and suck, and then they're going to have to put in Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, I think Dobbs will be number 2. I'll be really interested to see what they do with QB3 because usually you always keep 3 quarterbacks. But this year they've made it to where you can take a practice squad quarterback and make them your emergency quarterback on game days without using one of your game day roster spots. So it's like a free player because too many teams are going into a game with only 2 quarterbacks and both got injured. That happened like twice last year. So the NFL said, okay, how about we make your third string quarterback on game days can come from the practice squad and it won't count towards that limit of players for dressing. So I'm curious if they will cut and only keep 2
right,
and then say, oh, Brandon Allen gets claimed, whatever. We'll go with Mordecai as the practice squad. If Brandon Allen doesn't get claimed, maybe both of them go to the practice squad or just Brandon Allen.
We've got another injury update, Levin. This one is about Ricky Pearsall. He sublexed his shoulder. At least now, we at least have some accurate description of what the friggin' injury is. So way to go, 3 weeks after it happened. Pearsall sublexed his shoulder, and it was tender yet normal. 49ers hoping to get top draft pick back into practice next week. Yeah, we'll see. That's what they said last week, and then they immediately ruled him out on Tuesday, a week at a time. So... And again, I don't know if Kyle was asked specifically, did you know he had a shoulder injury before the draft or before you drafted him? I don't know if he was asked that. I don't, if you do in the chat, let me know. But so sublexed shoulder and it was tender yet normal. Okay. Is that good?
I'm not, I think I know what sublexed is, but I'm not 100%. Like I know I've heard it before. And something immediately popped in my head when you read it, but I'm not 100%, so I don't want to go there.
This is just a quick Google search. It's AI, so who the hell knows? But it says a subluxed shoulder, also known as a partial shoulder dislocation, is when the ball of the upper arm bone partially slides out of the shoulder socket. Ow.
Okay, so that's along the. I thought of it as it's when it gets pulled on and it pulls too far, which is what happens if so similar, but would have been a little inaccurate. That's I don't know. To me, shoulders are something that scares the crap out of me. Because
Ow.
your shoulders in football, when you are a ball carrier at some point, receiver, receiver, running back, tight end, you land and guys land on top of you. Your shoulders are something that if you got a bum shoulder that's prone to dislocation and stuff like that, it's going to happen.
You would think. I mean, it's just it. Football's a physical game. Brisbee Life on Twitch says tender yet normal sounds more like how I would order a steak than a shoulder. Well, that's well done. Twitch fam always gives us the best comments of the night. So if you're not watching on Twitch, you got to bring your A game in the comments because they generally do. I want to know if he was asked if they knew about his shoulder being a thing. Because why would Mike Silver say it? He obviously heard it from somebody. And who's he closest to on the team? Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Jed York. So he obviously heard it from somebody.
Remember when they said that he was looking great? Or by they, I mean Lombardi was saying he was looking great in early training camp.
Yeah.
Like, how much was he really doing?
And that's the thing. Like, how did this he did this in camp. Like, they barely do anything in camp. Like, damn. So it's much more likely, it would seem to me, that his shoulder, he had an injury and then just aggravated it in camp, then flat out it was totally healthy and he injured it. But who knows? I don't want to speculate. I don't actually know. So I'm not going to say that, but just trying to use my head logically and think about this. That's what I would assume. But we know what happens when you assume.
Let's hope nothing happens or that it doesn't matter at all. Because if aiyuk is re-signed and Cowing fulfills what he's looked, it doesn't matter. Like, at that point, they don't even need Pearsall. I'm not saying, like, I hope Pearsall turns out to be a great draft pick. There was some promise there. Like, I really liked what I saw in the draft and what he could do, like the way he high pointed, the things he could do after the catch. But if Cowing is somebody that can actually contribute and be something, anything at all as the fourth wide receiver as a rookie, and aiyuk is re-signed, then that makes Pearsall the fifth. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? At that point, I certainly want to see. We haven't had a first round pick to be excited about since Brandon Aiyuk. So I want to see something out. I want to see him play, and I would want him to be good. But if not, I think the 49ers will be just fine.
And
assuming aiyuk is signed.
Right. And we don't know. We haven't gotten any updates on that. If he signs, he will be just the second first-round pick of this regime to get a second contract from the 49ers. The first is Nick Bosa. Right now, he's the only first-round pick that the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch regime have given a second contract to. So we'll see.
Can I just say, if he ends up traded in the end, damn you 49ers for, like, stringing us along. Because how do you let somebody sit in your team meetings and travel with you to an away game if you're intending on trading them? I mean, at this point, I would say we are within, at the very latest, 10 days of them trading him, because I think at the very latest it would be Monday of week one prep before the Steelers say, hey, we're out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're that close and it's like a real possibility, you wouldn't want that guy around, because you don't want somebody knowing everything that your plans are for this season.
You would think, but nothing about this has been normal from the start. So who knows? Like, it's bizarre. It's a bizarre situation. There is a furious debate going on in the chat right now about the definition of subluxation and what it is and how serious it is. I don't want to speculate either way. I just Googled it. I don't know what it is. I'm not a doctor. I don't even pretend to be a doctor on television. Kyle Shanahan is done speaking now. Brock Purdy is at the podium wearing his finest gray t-shirt that I think maybe he picked up with some Kohl's cash, it looks like. I didn't see anything else about Kyle's comments. The beat writers have not tweeted out anything other than the Leonard Floyd, Yetur Gross-Matos update and the Ricky Pearsall update. And that is it. And maybe they know that we all do our instant reaction shows right now, so they don't want to tweet out anything to give us material. I don't know. But literally, must have been a boring press conference.
It's also extremely late, so they're probably assuming nobody's reading anything right now anyways.
Maybe. I do want to talk about the run defense for the 49ers, Levin. I'm starting to worry. I feel like maybe this might not be a thing that they've patched up really well. And it could be a situation where the 49ers are really built to get a lead and rush the passer. And if they don't have that lead, maybe they can be a little more porous.
I will get worried when we see it in the regular season, because we haven't seen Fred Warner. Nick Bosa isn't trying to be Nick Bosa right now. You know what I mean? Like,
true.
Run defense is what they could get a run on like crazy in the preseason, and I'm not going to be overly worried about it, because you're not really trying to stop that. I think passing defense is a little different, because you can see the one-on-ones better. That corner, who's going to be one of your starters, is getting burnt all the time. You know what I mean? Oh, that safety is constantly not in the right spot. He's not getting there in time, and that's who they're relying on. You can see the pass game being, because it's much more of an individual thing. It's a lot more individual matchups. The run defense is much more a scheme. They got to be working as a team and moving as a unit, and they don't have all their guys in right now.
Fair. That's I mean, obviously, it's going to make a massive, massive difference. I especially don't love the run defense if Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos are going to miss any significant amount of time, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Javon Hargrave against the run is not ideal. Not what you should get from a guy that's making that much money, especially if he's not going to be the dominant pass rusher that he was in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's one of the ways that they afford Purdy and aiyuk is they can get rid of Hargrave next year and save more than $20 million in cap space.
Luis Fernando Aguilar Alonso says they better get Trent's and BA's deal done ASAP. If they were waiting on this game to gauge how much they need them, they must have gotten their answer.
I don't think Kyle Shanahan gets almost any answers from preseason games. I mean, he's literally said that he doesn't value preseason games much at all. He values practice a lot more.
And he's not even calling the plays in the game. So that tells you how much he values it. Joseph Faccio, YouTube channel member, says Brock had some passes sail high on multiple targets. Anyone have concerns with his accuracy going into the regular season? No. In a word, I don't. I mean, I thought he had some passes that were a little high, but he also had some passes that were right on the freaking button, passes that were on the move, some sidearm passes. I think he had a sidearm pass to Conley, I want to say, on a rollout to the right there. I don't have concerns about Brock's accuracy. Not trying to be glib or a jerk or anything. I just don't.
No, I think quarterback accuracy is one of those things people get. If you want to be worried about QB accuracy, that was a little high, then you're always going to have throws. If you could watch Patrick Mahomes and be like, his accuracy is not quite there, because Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw dimes every time, but his receivers get the receptions. You know what I mean? He's got receivers that win at the point of the ball frequently. That's one of the things Kelsey is great at. And he always gets it in a spot where his wide receiver or running back or tight end has a chance at it. The interception tonight, did Deebo not have a chance at it? Yeah, it was a little high because he had to rush because McKivitz got destroyed. But Deebo had a shot at it. And he got mossed by the DB. The DB literally jumped over him, and Deebo didn't even jump. Like, if Deebo jumps to try to catch that to ensure the defender can't get it, they probably collide, and there's nobody to catch it.
Or maybe they call a flag, even if it is intercepted, whatever.
Right.
Maybe they call a flag. Speaker corrected me. That's right. The sidearm was to JP Mason, who almost made a great catch on the sideline, which would have been such a feather in his cap because we know how hard he's worked on trying to be better at catching the ball. He was this close, and his hands weren't the problem. It was his feet. He actually held on to the football. Remember, he said he spent like that $3,000 on the jugs machine to try and get better. So that would have been a cool thing to see. I just got the tweet of the show from Luis, who says, "Great pronunciation, Rob." You know how I like to pronounce names correctly. So thank you, Luis. I appreciate that. I don't like getting people's names wrong. As somebody who's got a name that many people do get wrong. Ben Richards on Twitch says, "Dang, McKivitz got owned by second teamers." Yes, he did. He's looked bad. All preseason, he's looked bad. He's looked like Colton McKivitz, which again, I say this a lot with him, but like I don't expect him to be an all-pro because he's just not that. That's not who he is. The 49ers have put him in this position. It's not his fault. He's doing the best he can. He shouldn't be out there is the reality of the situation. They should have found a better tackle than Colton McKivitz, and he just shows up again and again and again.
It's a problem. I'm hoping Puni can be a difference maker and make it to where it's not a every single game going, McKivitz again. You know what I mean? But yeah, they should have brought somebody in. Like, they didn't have to spend huge resources, but they should have brought somebody in that if McKivitz didn't show any improvement, there was at least this chance. Draft a guy in the third or fourth round. Bring in a free agent that has some starting experience, something to where, all right, McKivitz has not improved. Defensive ends have had an offseason to watch the film. They know how to attack him. He's actually getting worse. We're going to go to this other guy and at least have a shot. They brought nobody in. The other option is more. And as bad as McKivitz is, there is a gulf-sized difference between those two.
I saw this tweet from Jake Hutchinson, who says, Kyle Shanahan was asked about aiyuk traveling with the 49ers. Anyone who's on our team, we want to make the trip, especially if we think they're healthy. That's why we had him do it. Aiyuk's injury excuse has been a sore back. Interesting that Shanahan called him healthy. Look, everybody knows he's healthy. He's holding in because he doesn't want to get fined. But is this an indication from Shanahan like, hey, we're going to start to fine you? Like, we're not going to let this, if you're healthy, like, get on the field. Maybe he's trying to apply a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you could also, you can break that comment into two different halves. The second half being about aiyuk when they're healthy, being about aiyuk. The first half maybe being about the other guy that's not showing up. Anyone who's on our team, we want to make the trip, i.e. show up. Trent Williams is not showing up. Technically, he's not on the team right now.
Yeah, he's on the did not show up. I forget what the technical title of the list. Did not report, I think it is.
Yeah. I think it did not report, and that's why he's not counting against the salary cap currently.
God, do they need him? And everyone that has talked about this has said that they all think it's going to get done, that they think it's just a training camp thing, that, he just didn't want to do it. At 35 years old, he didn't feel like he needed to do it. Like you said, they got 17 days. So if they get this thing done, bing, bang, boom, he gets almost 3 weeks of time to get into football shape. Maybe that's enough for him. I don't know. Only he knows for sure. But damn, would I feel a lot better if Sunday morning when I'm on the golf course, I find out that Trent Williams is coming back for practice this week.
You're golfing on Sunday.
I am.
You're a golfer, huh?
I am a golfer. I love golf.
Did not know this about you.
Oh, yes. I don't get to play that much because, I've got 2 kids that are under the age of 10, but I try to get out whenever I can. I played this week. I played on Wednesday. I've gotten over the hey, I can't go out of my house because something might happen with Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams. Like, I got to stop. I got to live my life, man. So
that's what it was. Because you texted me on Wednesday, hey, are you going to be around in case something happens with Aiyuk? And I said, yeah, until I have to go to work at 5 Eastern.
Right.
You were out golfing.
I totally was out golfing, 100%. But just because I want to live my life doesn't mean I don't want someone to, hop on a live stream if news happens.
Yeah. Well, my approach to it is if I'm available, cool. If I'm not available, I'm not, if I'm out with my family at the store or something, I'm not going, we gotta leave, put everything down.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that. Barrows tweeted, Pearsall suffered the injury in OTAs, but continued to practice in a blue non-contact jersey. The 49ers hope he's back at practice that week. Now, was that a response to did he have this injury before the draft? It could be. I don't know. That's why, sometimes you got to watch the full press conference. You can't just go off of the tweets because there's not enough characters and you want to know context and tone and all that stuff. So I don't know. But it sounds like the Niners are going with the line that the shoulder was not a thing, that it came up in practice with the team, and he's been dealing with it since then.
I would love to know what kind of rehab he was going through. After OTAs, did he just kind of disappear and they assumed it would be better because he wasn't in pain? So Pearsall didn't really do any therapy, didn't look into it, and now it lingered? Because that is one of the things that I have concerns about the 49ers organization with. I mean, we've seen them do that with Jimmy and others where they go, oh, yeah, they had an injury, but it's going to heal on its own. And they ignore it. And then a month or 2 later, they go, well, it hasn't healed on its own. So, yeah, we're going to do surgery now.
That's the scary part. Josh Dowling, thanks for the super chat. Kyle said Ricky subflexed his shoulder as a junior, then said 50% of college players do that, then said that wasn't the problem. The problem was he did it at OTAs. Okay, so the shoulder was a thing in college. They're trying to justify it by saying 50% of college players do it. Okay, fine.
Well, it was a thing as a junior, so that means he was not hurt going into the draft.
And he never missed a game in college.
Right.
So there's that too. And then Kyle apparently said it wasn't the problem. The problem was what he did in OTAs. I'm going to have to go back and watch it before I make my definitive.
The follow-up to this is, hey, Kyle, you said he got this injury in college as a junior, but he never missed a game in college, yet he has not practiced in a month. So he's worse this time.
Well, that's the other concern, right? Because I know, especially with shoulders and dislocations and stuff, once it pops out, it becomes easier for it to pop out in the future. So there's a lot of questions.
Just tell him to Mel Gibson it like Lethal Weapon.
Where it just smashes it into like a corner or a post or something. That is a common thing in movies.
Yeah.
Do you know, putting your shoulder back into the joint is one of the most painful things that you can do to your body. And they do it in movies all the time like it's nothing. They just like punch it a couple of times. It's like, oh, it's back. Okay, we're good. They're waving their arm around right after they do it.
I just watched World War Z last night, and they do it in that movie where somebody gets a dislocated shoulder, they pop it back in, and then like 2 minutes later in the movie, the person's fighting zombies.
Hey, man, when the zombies come, they don't care about your hurt shoulder. You got to go all out. Joseph Acho said Riggs never had an issue in Lethal Weapon. See? People know the Lethal Weapon shoulder.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch those movies now. I haven't watched them in a while.
Nick Ellert says Lethal Weapon 1 to 3, and Mel Gibson does it 5 times and still saves Los Angeles.
Yeah, those movies are A+ cinema.
Yeah, and they're pretty friggin' old. But anyway, that's
but we're not too old for that shit.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. But hey, we're in Lethal Weapon, and you brought up age and old, so
that's true. Those are good movies. I like the ones with Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
And he, especially like, I think it was 4 where he just becomes ridiculous. I was here for it. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio pods. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notified when we go live. And you got to follow both. Some stuff is only exclusive to the podcast. Some stuff is a YouTube exclusive, like an interview we did this week with Vernon Davis, which if you haven't watched that, you should go check that out. Levin asked a question about Brock Purdy, and Vernon Davis ranked him in the NFL and gave a really, really interesting answer. So you should definitely go and check that out. Levin, I really appreciate you staying up. It's 2 a.m. for us, so I appreciate you staying up late for the instant reaction. The preseason is over. The next game the 49ers play is going to count. It will be on Monday Night Football against the New York Jets.
Yeah, kick that old guy. That's a guy that might be too old for this stuff.
There you go. And hopefully he is, and hopefully the world gets to see it on Monday Night Football. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll talk on Monday.